This podcast is brought to you by the Maryland State Library Agency. The MSLA podcast features presenters from statewide youth programs, as well as learning opportunities for library staff and resources for patrons of the Maryland State Library for the Blind and Print Disabled.
Hello, and welcome to the MSLA Guest Hour podcast. I'm Communications Manager Tim Pratt, and I'm thrilled to be speaking today with Nanna Bailey and Kristin Green from Queen Anne's County Library. Nanna is the Public Service Associate for the library system, while Kristin is the Technical Services Manager. Nanna and Kristin recently helped lead the Empowerment Library Project with the Queen Anne's County Library and Queen Anne's County Detention Center. Thank you, Nanna and Kristin, for joining us today.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
All right. So starting off, maybe we can tell the audience a little bit about yourselves, maybe your professional background, how long you've been working for the Queen Anne's County Library.
Yes. So I worked for the Queen Anne's County Library for 4 years. I have a master's degree in business communication with a focus on English and European studies because I thought I was going to work for the European Union. But it turned out that I ended up here in Maryland instead because I did a study abroad in Ireland where I met my husband who is from this area. And that's how I eventually ended up at the library.
Very nice. And Kristin, same with you. Can you kind of fill us in on your background and how you ended up in Queen Anne's County?
Yeah. So I actually have been here for going on 18 years. I started as a public service librarian at our Kent Island branch. And then a few years ago, I moved up here to the Centerville branch as the technical services manager. I got my master's of library science degree from Simmons College in Boston with a focus on archives, but I kind of fell into public librarianship and haven't left since. So,
very nice. So, Nanna, as the public services associate, what exactly do you do?
So I work at the circulation desk, just doing normal circulation stuff. But I'm lucky because I also get to do a lot of other stuff because we are a fairly small branch. So when I showed an interest in grant writing, I was allowed to do a Gale course on grant writing and then also apply for the LSTA grant and then eventually work on our Empowerment Library project.
Very nice. And Kristin, same question to you. Can you kind of tell people about what do you do there? What are your day-to-day responsibilities?
So my basic responsibilities would be focusing on the processing and cataloging of materials that come in for our branches. I also do the ordering. I submit the orders for the selectors, but I do some selecting of my own for certain collections here at Centerville. And then I also do all the book selections for our new kiosk.
Very nice.
So, a lot of fun things.
Yeah. And we talked a little bit about the Empowerment Library Project, but I was hoping we can kind of dive a little bit more into it now. Can you tell me a little bit more about it, what it is? When did it begin and how did it all come about? Whoever wants to go, feel free to jump in.
Maybe I'll start out, Kristin, you will help me. So in late 2022, we were contacted by Officer Hannafy from the Queen Anne's County Detention Center. She has been working there for a long time and has been working on the library as well. In the past, we gave her weeded books from our collections, so books that we no longer needed. But then she called us up to ask, did we have more books to share with her? But as we were talking to her, it became clear that the books we could weed from the collection were actually not the books that the incarcerated individuals were looking for. So then we started looking around a little bit. What can we do? Because we didn't have money in our own budgets to do this work. But then, luckily enough, our colleague Carolyn had done the LSTA training with Mary Ramey. And she said in that training, she had talked about how the LSTA grant money could also go towards working with incarcerated individuals for library services. So we jumped right on that, and I wrote an application, and then we were lucky enough to actually get the money. So we got $11,000 that we then used on buying books.
Very nice. And for those who aren't familiar, LSTA is the Library Services and Technology Act, which is some federal funding. And the Mary Ramey that you mentioned is one of my colleagues here at the Maryland State Library Agency who works great with all the library systems to help support funding or help secure funding for some very important projects. And so what are some of the goals of this program or this project, and why are they important?
So the outcomes we were hoping for, and that we also put in our grant application, was that the incarcerated individuals would have better access to books that they needed, but then that they would also learn about free library services they can access upon re-entry into the community. So I think our focus kind of became that incarcerated individuals are also patrons, like they are also part of the community out there. Unfortunately, they can't come to our library and use our services. So instead, we wanted to bring the services to them. So we did that through books, the books that were purchased, but also the detention center does not have a system to check out the books. So we we put together a bookmark, and it had information about the services that the incarcerated individuals could access once they re-entered the community. So it was both about the books, but it was also about information sharing.
And was there any kind of surveying done, or what kind of information or data was collected to kind of prepare for this?
So when it came to updating the collection and kind of figuring out which books we needed, we first, Kristin and I talked to Officer Hannafy about what she was hearing, like which books were they looking for. So we made a list of different genres that we thought that everybody would enjoy and would need. So it was skills books, books in Spanish, self-help books, urban fiction, books in large print, bestsellers, true crime, and then history and military. So history and military history. Then also biographies. And then we had kind of a miscellaneous category where we had graphic novels, law books, dictionaries, and religious books.
And there were some specific requests too, especially some books that they had but were damaged and needed to be replaced, and then just some other ones that some of the incarcerated individuals had asked about that Officer Hannafy had taken note of for us. So that was kind of how we started. The original plan, I think, what you had was to do it in kind of two large orders and a replacement order, but I advise maybe doing smaller orders on a monthly basis. That way things would kind of be rolling in. And I think it turned out to be a good idea, because then we started to getting a lot more requests from the individuals there you have a rolling population too. So needs change. So I think that turned out to be the better method.
Yeah, I was lucky Kristin was here to advise me, because I'm still new to library work, and had just put that we could just get some big chunks of books. But instead, we were actually able to get the books that they were looking for.
Well, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And how many books were you able to provide for them?
Yeah. So we actually ended up purchasing 654 new books.
Oh, wow.
And then because we gave out these bookmarks, we were able to also count how many had actually circulated. So the circulation of books was 1,451 books.
Oh, wow.
And this was the period between October of 23 until June 24, when the grant ended.
And the books circulated more too, because within the pod, they would share the books throughout their weeks that they had them.
Mm-hmm. Were there any restrictions on the kind of materials that you could get for the incarcerated individuals, or was it kind of whatever they were looking for, you did your best to get it for them?
Yeah, we were very fortunate. There was no restriction as far as hardcover, paperback, subject matter. So it was pretty much, if we could find it and it seemed reasonable, we could get it for them.
Very good. And you said that you had titles in other languages. Was it Spanish you mentioned?
Yes, we had. Before the grant start, there was actually an incarcerated individual who was looking for Arabic books. Mm-hmm. So we were actually able to purchase books for him. And then I believe there were some other people who used the books as well. So it wasn't just for one individual. And we also had Spanish requests, Chinese. And then towards the end, people were asking for some language learning books in Japanese and French as well.
Very nice. And were these, once the titles were supplied to the detention center, do they actually have a library there at the facility, or do you have to kind of maintain them yourselves?
They have the library there. Unfortunately, as Nanna said, they don't have a way to check things out, so everything is still done by hand. So we created kind of list of the items that we were giving them, just to kind of keep track of things. There may have been a couple mistakes where I ordered things twice because one thing hadn't come in and I ordered it and I didn't realize. So things happen.
Maybe we should also say that it is kind of a special situation they have at the Queen Anne's County Detention Center, because they do have their own library. So it's a small room, but it's there. So it's not, I think in many places there will be a book cart going around, but instead here the incarcerated individuals actually come to the room where the books are and can look at the books and check them out.
Oh, that's great. Did you get any feedback from either the detention center or directly from incarcerated individuals? And if so, what was it?
Yeah, so we put out a survey as part of the grant, just to get some feedback, of course. And we were actually lucky in that we received 57 surveys back. Like usually when you put out a survey, sometimes you don't hear anything, but here we heard a lot, and they were, I would say, pretty much all of them were very positive, and everyone was very thankful for the books that we were able to provide.
And suggesting more books on their surveys too.
Yes. I think the big thing with this project was that they got to choose the books themselves. And that is what we got some good feedback on. When we started work with the detention center, they had about 1,000 books in their library, but we went to take a look at the books, and 75% of them were in such bad condition that they couldn't really be read anymore.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Like the covers were missing, water damage. It was, or just really old, and things maybe they weren't actually interested in too.
Yeah.
And in the past, the books that had come in would have been donated books. So it might not have been the books that the incarcerated individuals were looking for.
Yeah. That's interesting. So are you doing anything to kind of monitor the condition of these books, or is that something that the staff at the detention center is doing, or is it a combo effort? Like, how do you monitor these books and the condition of them, and if and when they'll need to be replaced moving forward? Like, I know I threw 3 questions at you right back.
Yeah. Our hope is that we will be able to get more money so we can buy more books. That's what I'm working on, asking for different grants. And then we have Officer Hannafy at the detention center. She runs the library, and she keeps an eye out for what is
she
going
lets
on.
us know when things have gone missing or have been damaged. So, and there wasn't as many as we had expected. Now we are getting some more requests in of ones that I know that we've purchased. So I'm not sure if they're just checked out right now and there's no way to tell because of their system, or if they actually have been damaged. So it's kind of a mix, I think.
Yeah. And Nanna, you mentioned something about trying to secure more funding in the future. Is that through LSTA or other means? Or can you kind of tell me what your vision is for the future of this program and how that might come about?
I think our biggest vision is that one day we will actually have this as on our budget, or maybe at the budget at the detention center. As we all know, there are not much money at the detention center or in the system as a whole. But because they have seen the good results from these books being there, they have promised me that they are also trying to look to actually make it a post on their budget. Because right now, the way that they get money for the library is only through a little bit of money that's given to them once a year. But one of the interesting things was, so we got the feedback from the incarcerated individuals on the surveys. But we have also gotten feedback from management and also the staff at the detention center. And one of the things they shared was that the level of violence and kind of animosity had gone down, because now the incarcerated individuals had, like, they could go to the library, they could ask for these books, and that gave them something to do.
Were you expecting these kind of results, and how did the results of the survey compare to what you were expecting?
I think we went into this project a little blind. So I think we've also been fortunate that we have gotten some good results, and that we were able to the good thing was that we didn't put in that large order that I had planned, but instead we could do the small orders. And then I also had like we were supposed to buy 80 books because we thought there would be that many damaged.
Mhm.
But there were only 2 damaged books and 2 lost books in the period that we
Wow.
had the grant. So to some extent, they maybe took better care
I
of the
think
books.
that's what
than-
Officer Hannafy said.
Yeah.
that they were.
They really did a good job.
Mhm.
Yeah. And if there's other library systems out there who might be listening to this and might be interested in partnering up with their local detention centers or even a state facility, what advice would you give them?
I think I would give them the advice to go for it because we got $11,000, which is a chunk of money, but not that much money. So I felt like we made a big impact with that money.
Mhm.
We then were also very lucky that we had a good partner in the detention center and in Officer Hannafy, who has been working there for over 30 years, and has always been an advocate for that they needed to have this library.
Mm-hmm.
So I would definitely say you might not need as much money as you think or as much funding as you think to kind of get something started that can give a nice result, but you definitely need to have a partner.
The support is essential.
Yeah.
I mean, especially when you think about how we didn't have the restrictions that I know some other places do for the books that they can provide. So we were very fortunate in that.
Any challenges or pitfalls people should try to avoid if they're trying to do something similar? That's a tough question.
We've been quite lucky with what we were
Yeah.
able to do.
Well, that's great news then. Yeah. And I guess kind of talking a little bit about the library system in general, can you just tell us a little bit about, I mean, we've talked a little bit about this program here, but just the Queen Anne's County Library in general. You've mentioned a couple of the branches, but can you just tell us a little bit about the branches, how many people are served, and any other stats or info about the library system that you want to share?
Yes. So, so let me see here. So the Queen Anne's County Library's vision is to exceed our community's evolving needs for resources and knowledge. So through free access to materials and services. So, but here we serve quite a kind of a broad geographical area because Queen Anne's County goes from the Chesapeake Bay to the agricultural region of the Eastern Shore. We have so close to 52,000 people live in Queen Anne's County. And then we have 2 brick and mortar branches. So we have the Centerville branch, and then we have the branch on Ken Island. But we also have a mobile library that goes around the county. And then our newest thing is that we have a library on your schedule kiosk. And maybe Kristin wants to say just a few words about that, because that's kind of a new thing that we do.
It's to serve our North County patrons, because right now we don't have a branch up there. So we're hoping to expand, but this is kind of like our first, well, we have the mobile library, but also like this is more of it's there at any time, open 24/7. And it just has, the most newest popular books in it for right now, because it can only hold like 150 max, depending on the size of the book.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. And aside from the program we've been talking about already, what else is going on in the library system? Do you have any interesting events coming up or programs or projects you want to highlight?
I think what we would like to highlight is all the partners that we work with in the community to make sure that resources get to as many people as possible. So we are lucky we have a partnership with the detention center. One of the other things we can mention is that we have a good relationship with the Queen Anne's County Health Department. So we are still bringing the community free COVID tests and also health information. We also do work with the Queen Anne's County Migrant Program, where we participate in their outreach events and also in their summer camp with our mobile library. So we try to kind of get our services to as many people as we can. I think that's what we would like to highlight, and just give a shout out to all of our partners that they are willing to work with us, and we are happy to bring resources and information about the library into the community.
Yeah, I'm curious. You say all that, and like, can you kind of just talk a little bit about the role of the library in the community over there? It seems like, I mean, you've got all these partnerships, you've got all these programs. It seems like you guys play a pretty important part in the community over there. Can you just talk a little bit about the library's role in Queen Anne's County?
Yeah, so I think because it is a smaller county, we all have to pitch in to make sure that we reach everyone. And Allison, our marketing and outreach person, does a very good job in being part of the community. So we later this month, I will be participating together with the mobile library and a staff member from there in the sheriff's office. They have a whole day where they have people come together to kind of show what they are able to do, but also show what other services and things that are available in the community. So I think we are lucky in the way that we have the brick and mortar branches, but then that we also try to get out into the community to show off our mobile library, to hope that people will know about it and then show up to use the services we have there.
Very good. And then kind of moving back to talking a little bit more about you two. I was kind of hoping that you could talk a little bit about your job specifically. I mean, what do you enjoy most about your job, and what do you get out of it? Maybe we can start with Kristin, since Nanna, we've kind of started with you a few times here. Not to put you on the spot or anything, Kristin.
So I like the variety of my job. My previous job, I also did a whole bunch of different things. It's public service librarian. You just basically, I feel like you do it all except manage. And so now I get a little bit of the management, but I get to do things that I really enjoy, which is cataloging and collection development. Those are always my two favorite. I like programming, but I got a little burned out because of just doing so many of them by myself. So I've been enjoying this little break on that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And Nanna, how about you?
Yeah, so as a public services associate, I get to do so many different things, and I think that's the part of the job that I enjoy. Like, I do all the stuff at the circulation desk. So if somebody comes in, they're looking for materials, I can help them find that. If they have a tech question, I can try and help them with that as well. But then, because we are a smaller branch, I'm lucky that I also get to put on a program, or I get to ask for a grant and work on that. At the moment, one of the things I'm also enjoying is that I'm part of the emerging adults interest group through MLA. It's one that has not been going for too long, but we are trying to get the word out there about that library services are important for people between the ages of 18 and 25, maybe even until 29. So I came from a job in marketing where I also got to do many different things, but maybe I didn't get to see actual people and work with them. So that's what I enjoy in my day-to-day life, that we have everybody coming in, and we were just talking at the circulation desk, and no 2 days are the same.
Yeah. And my next question is, I mean, can you talk a little bit about just how the job of a librarian has changed over the years? I mean, we all hear about libraries are changing, they're offering different services and resources, but whether it's your job specifically or just librarianship in general, can you just talk about that evolution that you've seen over the years? Whoever wants to jump in there.
It gets me because I'm old. Well, when I first started, just thinking of what the library looked like, and there was 3 big shelves of reference books. And then, like, during my time as the public service librarian, the reference shelves kind of shrunk until there was like, here's your shelf. And now basically our reference is just our Maryland history reference.
Mm.
And everything else just kind of circulates because, we don't need all those encyclopedias that we used to have. And because now we offer all of our databases online, which we didn't have. Okay, we did have databases when I started, so I'm not that old, but it was just, we had both.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big change, I think. And just the focus. It feels like a different environment, which is good. I don't even know how to explain it. Just like from when I started, how things were like more in the shushing era. And now it's like a little, like more welcoming, like you can bring your food in and things like that versus no.
Yeah. Got that. And for each of you, like, where does your love of libraries come from? I mean, did you go to the library much when you were a kid, or did this start later in life, or like, where does that love and that affinity for libraries come from?
So as you can probably hear, I'm not from the United States. I was born in Denmark and has lived here for 15 years now. So my love for libraries started in Denmark instead. When I was a child, I remember going to the library. I also remember going to the school library and being very excited about being able to check out different books. So then when I had my first child here in the US, I decided to stay at home with her. And that's when my love of the American library really started, because I was able to go there and be part of story time and see what was actually going on in an American library. So when I was done staying at home with my daughter, I looked around, and then I was lucky enough that a job came up in this library. And I've been very happy with the choice of working here. So I kind of got here by accident, maybe a little bit.
I grew up as a bookworm. Like my mom still jokes about how I would cart around 3 volumes of the Little House series because, I was working on one. I'd probably finish another one and, just need a third one in reserve just in case. And my daughter is actually just the exact same way now. So I only have myself to blame for that. But yeah, I think my school librarian, she just had, just an amazing presence in my life. She was a friend's mother, actually, but I think that was it. That and all the scholastic book club things, because my parents were teachers. So they were like, here, just circle the ones that you want. And so we had this massive library at home too, and I just reread everything.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Very nice. Well, I'm curious how different the libraries here in the US are from your libraries back home, Nanna. What are some of those differences, if you don't mind shedding some light on them?
Yeah. So Denmark is a small country, so it's the size of Maryland and has the same amount of people. So it's a very small, a small place, and in that way, the libraries that are so they're the libraries, but we also have a very big welfare state in Denmark. So the big difference that I'm seeing is that in the US, many people will come into the library who will need help, finding resources. And it's not the same in Denmark. Like a Danish library is maybe more for coming to get a book, but also participate in different programming. So I think, without knowing 100% here, because I've already been gone from Denmark for a long time, it seems like there's more people coming here for resources. I like the way that it is that, I'll get a call on the phone about anything. I never know who's calling or what they're asking about, because they know they can call here and we will get them an answer.
Yeah.
So that's what I enjoy about it.
They were even because you do notary services here too.
Yeah.
I mean, things like that.
Yeah.
So things that we didn't offer back 20 years ago.
Yeah. So I'm a notary, and people can come in here and we try to help people. I think that's in Denmark. I think you more go just to get a book or to check that out. Here, there's more of a community where you can come and we can help you find different resources.
Very good. And as we're getting ready to wrap up here, I do have to ask both of you, since I asked everybody this at the end of our interviews, what are you reading these days, or do you have time to read?
So I have 2 small children, so I don't have as much time as I used to. I'm really enjoying listening to books. That has become my big thing. That at least I can do.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm part of a book club with 5 other women. Meet up once a month to talk about a book. And because we are very different and have very different interests, I've actually gotten to read a lot of different books that I wouldn't have. So that has been good for me to get out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
So at this moment, we are reading Gideon the Ninth by Tansen Moore. And that is definitely a book I wouldn't have picked up on my own, but I am enjoying the read.
Very nice. How about you, Kristin?
So it's October, so I'm moving into the holiday spirit, and because if I don't start now, I won't get a book read by the time Christmas comes. So I just started reading Christmas is All Around by Martha Waters, and I think that doesn't release until October 22nd. It's an advanced reader's copy I'm reading, and then I'm also reading because I have the problem of cataloging books, and I'm like, oh, this sounds interesting. And I have to read, I look at it and then I read it. So Scotland Yard, A History of London's Police Force's Most Infamous Murder Cases by Simon Reed. And then at home with my kids, I am currently reading E. Nesbitt's Railway Children. So Just a wide variety there.
Yeah. Well, this has been great talking with you all. Before we go, is there anything else you want to add about the project with the detention center, or just the library system in general? Anything we didn't touch on that you want to get out there?
Yeah, I think we want to maybe give a couple of shout outs, just saying like thank you so much to LSTA and everybody who's involved with that we got the money, and that was a really great thing, and we got to work on a cool project that we think has brought some good things with it, and we are trying to get more money and working on different things to continue the project. Then we want to give a shout out to the detention center, the Queen Anne's County Detention Center, and Officer Hannafin especially. Just thank you for working with us. And then I think we also have to give a shout out to all of our colleagues, because this has been a big project and everybody pitched in. Otherwise, this was not possible. So Carolyn suggested, oh, why don't you ask for this money? We had people who helped me make sure that everything was spelled correctly in our grant. Everybody also helped us celebrate when the numbers came in every week. Officer Hannafin would send us a weekly email saying, oh, this many books went out, and we would share it all around, and everybody would be very interested in the project. So thank you to everybody here that helped us make this possible.
That's great to hear. And thank you too for joining us. Again, I'm here with Nanna Bailey and Kristin Green from Queen Anne's County Library for the MSLA Guest Hour. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This has been a presentation of the Maryland State Library Agency. For links to additional resources provided by today's presenter, please visit the show notes. For more information on MSLA or the Maryland State Library for the Blind and Print Disabled, visit marylandlibraries.org.